Well, look, man, I mean, the only pathway to growth is failure. That's the only one. So you should just get good at failing and just do it fast, right? I mean, because really, honestly, the earlier you fail, the more, and you accept that, right, and learn from it, the less dramatic the failure.
All right, my friends, welcome to Fatherhood Field Notes. Ben, what is up, dude? It's good to see your face.
What's happening, man? It's great to be with you. Look forward to today.
Yeah, man. So just right out the gate, it's a couple of dads. We were just wrapping for a minute. I had to be on here late because I'm on the phone with the doctor because my kid broke their hand last night at flag football. And then you're jumping on like, all right, dude, full schedule. Got to be out of here in 45 minutes. Just full life, right? So it's not like we're just sitting in cozy offices just doing nothing all day. We got full-blown, full-out days. With that being said, Ben, first question is, how old do you find yourself today?
Bro, I'm getting ready to have a birthday in May, and I'll be 47. So on the tail end of 46 right now.
Okay, so as you're coming into birthday, you're coming into this last stretch of your 40s. Was there anything you said when you were, 40? Okay, this decade I'm going to X, Y, or Z. And if so, what was that? And then how are you doing on it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I was aware when I hit 45, right, that, bro, I can't pretend to be young anymore. Like, I am not the young guy in the room often. So I've got to get serious about, man, staying in shape. I was in construction. My job used to keep me in shape, but that doesn't really work anymore. So I started, actually my second son, Jude, he became a personal trainer. He got certified. So he started working me out, and man, I did legs this morning. So
okay,
it's been good. It's been good, making progress.
Heck yeah. Love that. Love that. How many years you been married, Ben?
25 this year, the 7th of October. So
dude, that's incredible. Congratulations.
Bro, thank you, man.
What is the thing that you would tell the guy who's at his 10-year mark and he's like, wow, 10 years I accomplished this and now you're more than double that. And what would you say to him? What input, advice, suggestion?
Man, I would tell you that just go on the journey, man, to get to know who your wife is. Like I thought I knew her, and 25 years in, man, she's still a mystery to me, but she's amazing. And so like just to go on the journey to know her, and to find out what she loves, what drives her, what makes her tick. I think it's a worthy pursuit.
Okay. So two just things that really stuck out to what you said is to get to know her, right? So am I getting to know my wife? Like, do I know her better this year than last year? And then even with the shifts and changes, like we're always like changing. And then it's a worthy pursuit. Like if I can hold that truth inside my heart, my soul, my chamber as a man, this is a worthy pursuit. Because sometimes it's really easy to we want to be pursuing things as men, right? But how often are we pursuing things that may not be as worthy of a pursuit?
There's so much that hangs on this relationship with my wife. I mean, so much. I mean, just the legacy, man, my children, my grandchildren, the joy. I mean, that I get to walk through life in, man, so much hinges on just really love existing between my wife and I. That, man, there's second to God, man, there's no other relationship that's more important in my life. She's my best friend and my lover at the same time.
Dude, so good. So good. Yes. I love that. There's so much that rides on this one relationship. Like, do we really understand not the weight of it like a burden, but the responsibility of it? You said joy through life. What does joy mean to you, Ben?
Man, just like for me, it's about, this is an abiding peace, like there's adventure in it, man. It's something that that's a great question. I've never defined joy probably, but man, it just is, it's something. Joy to me is, I think it's probably different for everybody, what it looks like. But for me, man, it means adventure with people I love. I mean, it means, just contentment, just abiding relationship. I mean, those things are some of the things that would mark joy and bring joy to my life.
Yeah, yeah. So the two words that stick out is adventure, right? So you're doing something, and then with people you love, relationship, right? And relationship is key. How many kiddos do you have, and what are their ages?
I got four. So it's funny, man, when I married Briar, like I wanted two and she wanted, eight, right? And then after we started having them, she's like, "Give it two and I need more." But my oldest, I have three boys and a girl. My oldest is Eli. He's 19. I'm sorry, he's 21 now. They keep moving. My next one's Jude. He is 19. I have Chloe, who is 16, and then Asher is 11, soon to be 12.
Yeah, dude, good spread. So we have a similar spread. We're 12 to 19, but we have four girls and one boy. So opposite on that. Where do you guys live?
We're in the middle of Kansas. So in the middle of the Flint Hills in Kansas, a little town called Alta Vista, which is, I think our current population is around 441. And I'm probably related to like at least, 50 of them, it seems
Wow.
like.
Wow, dude, that's epic. Ben, what do you do to provide value out in the world and feed the family?
So I build people's dreams and I help them. That's really what we do. And then I help build lives as well. So, people pay me for peace of mind and for experience, for skill, in kind of building facilities, and that's homes, commercial agriculture, some historic renovations, but just creating facilities that, will facilitate their dreams happen.
Wow, what an incredible answer, right? Like you could have just said I'm a general contractor or whatever terminology 99% of other people would use, but you let out the gate and I'm like, "Oh man, what does he do?" I thought, I'm thinking he's in construction and you are, but your passion and purpose behind it is really beautiful, which is cool and inspiring to hear. I know you've done a lot of business development. You were sharing that when we were in Breckenridge together a couple months back, just some of the growth you've had with some business development. And what's cool is the way that you shared that just now didn't feel like you were like having to look at some poster on the wall that you did, like 10 years ago. It was like actually a part of you, right? There was a joy that came out.
Yeah, dude, I
We
love
help
it.
people
It's
fulfill their
so
dreams.
fun.
Oh,
It's a blast.
dude, incredible. Incredible. Speaking of fatherhood, what would you say the role of the father is?
Man, I mean, there's a lot of different, roles and functions, but I think primarily for me, man, my primary aim is to help my kids understand who they are, kind of what their identity is, understand kind of their bent, and maybe walk with them to discover their assignment. And because I know that, man, when they're doing what they were made for, there'll be no more successful than that, and no more joy found except doing what you're made.
Say that success piece again.
Well, I think they could be no more successful. Like the highest level of success will come as they're operating. And I believe everybody has kind of a unique ability that they could deploy to. And then, when you're doing what you love, you've heard it said, man, I'm sure that, man, you don't work a day in your life. And I just think it's true. So my job as a dad is to help them explore some different things, to really find out how to discover their unique ability and run it.
I love that. What an opportunity we as dads have.
No doubt.
Tell me your opinion on this. So I think sometimes growing up in the church, I was like almost sold this, and I don't want to say sold this. Ned, you have a purpose. Ned, you have a purpose. Ned, you have a purpose. Okay, so like on one hand, kind of leaning into there's something unique potentially, but then on the other hand, there's also this great opportunity to love your wife and have a family, and that a lot of our purpose is leaning into passing down the values of family and togetherness and joy and faith, etc. And it's less tied to what I do out in the world. What are your thoughts between helping our kids understand the balance between the two of those? And while you think about it for a second, I will tell you that I have 4 girls, so I have this deeper desire to like help them see that being a homemaker and a mother is like a beautiful thing. So not that I don't want them to go be a lawyer or a doctor if they want, but I just wrestle with the amount we put pressure on our girls to do that. And then I'll tell you, because I'm thinking about you, you have 3 sons. With my son, I'm way more like, what are you good at? What are you going to do out in the world? Like, you have to go pick up a hammer and do something to provide value, right? It doesn't have to be a hammer. It could be whatever. But so I wonder if you're bent, right? Like your response became more from the father of sons. I mean, I know you have a daughter, but you have older boys. So you're like, these boys got to be ready for the world. So I talked a lot, gave you some space. What are your thoughts?
No, that's beautiful, man. So first of all, I mean, I see that distinction, and I certainly am. So I have a daughter who's 16, right? So she's getting ready to come to that stage where, and like we've been going through, how does she find some work? She loves taking care of kids. Like that's her passion. But she wants to go be a barista, right? And work in a coffee shop because she just loves it. So we've been going through all that. But I think generally speaking, I'd say your identity is not really what you do. What you do flows out of your identity. So I'm not so much like, there's a lot of different ways that you could show up, utilize your skills, and, to make money, and really it's about creating value for people. So I think though that the primary thing is that, man, they understand kind of the essence of who they are and what their abilities are. So like for example, for me, man, I have an ability to understand what's necessary, like the parts that are necessary to bring together to accomplish a task. So like project management is something that, man, I can recognize, and I can see those abilities in the different people, bring them together, connect them together, and see things happen. That could work in construction. It could work in a bunch of different arenas, right? So I'm not a construction guy, necessarily, but I love to connect people, right? I love to build relationships and understand, what makes people tick, and then see them come together and watch awesome things happen, right? I just happen to do that in construction.
Yeah. Okay, so then it becomes a little less tied to this question is like, what are you going to do, right? So we lean into, okay, you're 19 or 21, what are you going to go do? But the better question, or the thing that sounds like you're leaning into, is like, who are you? And then you can go apply that to really anything you want. I mean, or there's a much more options. So I like that. So it's really helping your kids discover their gifts, talents, and like we like to call a zone of genius. Like, where do I just get energy from being myself?
Look, and I think look, I didn't know if we were in the church space or not, honestly, Ned. But like, man, your creator, God, he made you like and gave you gifts, right? So this understanding of where you fit, and like how you can serve others, right? In your giftedness, man, that applies in a bunch of different contexts, right? In the church, in a body, in an ecclesia, at work, kind of wherever you show up. And again, man, I know that there's no better life to have than one that's tied to you operating out of who you are, right? Without striving, and just at rest, and seeking his kingdom in your life. Because then, like, all the pressure's off, man. He's promised to do some things, like you got a house and clothes and food, and so like you're just along for the ride, and he's got crazy plans that are fun.
So you just said he has crazy plans that are fun. What's a crazy plan that you are a part of his that is fun?
I'm actually going to California tomorrow, or next week, to meet with a guy that has a vision, man, to do some stadium events about the evangelism of Jesus in Madrid, in Brazil, in New York, in Israel, ultimately. And we did one together in 23 in Portugal, and like, I'm not that guy. That's not like, I'm not a stadium guy, right? Like, what he's asked me to do is partner with him, put together some of the infrastructure and the connect the people right in the United States to be able to see that project happen. That's my role. Yet, because I'm doing that and serving in that way, man, I get to go see these crazy, like I got to be front row seat to see 42,000 Catholic young people be invited into a personal relationship with Jesus. I mean, blows my mind in an atmosphere filled with worship of him and just the gospel of the kingdom being shared. I mean, dude, I would have never came up with that idea.
Oh yeah.
But it
You
is
get to
so
be a part
fun
of
to
it.
go. Yeah,
Yeah.
so fun to go.
Incredible. Since we're on this, I just want to ask this question because maybe it'll inspire some guys. So you live in a town, you already said it, 440 people or so, but you've had a men's group that you do. Is it once a month? Just tell me like the 2-minute.
Year.
Okay, give us the 2-minute breakdown on that because it's pretty inspiring.
Yeah. So, man, 2-minute breakdown. Dude, we've seen God bring over 10,000 dudes since in the last 11 years to a weekend event where, man, they get to have an encounter with Jesus, right? And so they get to hear the gospel of the kingdom presented over 2.5 days. And we see him, man, break addictions, strongholds, people step into their identity. I mean, they just get freedom that comes from Christ. Like they discover, like for me, I discovered that he actually intended me to be free from sin, like to not walk around with a bunch of guilt and shame, but he actually empowered me to be free. So, that it's called Men's Encounter. The Lord is actually doing it all across the country. And I know of a few places in South America and around. We did it in Kenya. I mean, so
you do a couple a year?
We do 3 a year. We actually, just got done with some server training. We got one coming up the 2nd of May. So a couple weeks
away. How many
away.
men show up to that?
I don't, last time there were 396 dudes. That was in January, into January. I think right now we're at 300-ish.
Yeah. And are most of them coming from like within like 100 miles of where you live?
Sort of. Like we got guys from Colorado coming in. I mean, we got guys from around, but yeah, most of them are right in our area, I would say, in the state.
Okay, since we're on this topic of faith, this is a new question I've been asking dudes. I think I've only asked it 2 or 3 times. If they are a man of faith, I'll ask this question. And the question is, how are you passing your faith, your belief system to your children? So
yeah.
What do you hope it to look like when they're your age in their own homes? And then what are you doing now to pass that along? Like what's important to you? What's key? What's critical?
Man, that's a great question. And I think the answer to that has changed over the years as they've grown, right? So like when they're young, I'm reading them stories out of the kids' Bible, right? I mean, they're coming with us to church. I mean, they're coming and engaged in the community. But man, like, when they're younger too, like I'm not as important as mom, right? So man, I got really blessed. All right, let me clarify that a little bit. So man, I was blessed that Briar, like my wife, like her dream was to find some dude that would make enough money so she could stay home and raise kids. Like that was her dream. So I'm thankful for that. We've got to homeschool. I mean, she's been at home with them, raising them while I'm trying to kill things and bring it home. So what that means is like at this point where they're like stepping out and facing the world, man, I've had the privilege to get to come alongside of them and be kind of a counselor even more, so teach them how to teach, my goal. I think earlier you asked what our primary role of a father is. And I talked about identity. Probably the other one that really drives what I did and am doing is my role is to teach them to manage their freedom, right? It's to teach them to how to stay free. That looks like, man, how do I deal with temptation sometimes? How do I respond to this person as being an idiot, right? I mean, how do I, how do I process life the way that Jesus did, like for real? I mean, because you don't get that in a lot of self-help books and, in the wisdom of the world, right? They don't tell you to respond the way Jesus did.
Mm-hmm. Which, just to make a note, and if you have any opinions on it, please share. But today is Maundy Thursday. Maundy Thursdays, the Last Supper. Tomorrow is Good Friday, and then Easter's on Sunday. So we've been doing a family dinner the last 6-7 years to celebrate kind of the Last Supper. and Mondi, this idea it comes from mandate. And at the Last Supper, Jesus in John 13 gave this mandate, a new commandment I give you, go love one another. And you're talking about that, right? Like teaching your kids to love other people, but you can really only love other people well if you live in freedom yourself. Like you said a little bit ago, not walking around in sin and bondage, right? Like shame and guilt. But the beautiful thing, I've never heard it said this way, is teach them to manage their freedom. So it's like, wow, because now all of a sudden temptation and sin is more of this like sucking you into slavery, not freedom. And I've never considered it that way. And I think what a beautiful thing. So anyways, thoughts, Monty Thursday, more on this. What do you think?
It's a huge deal, man. I think that's how the Lord raises us up, right? I mean, he's for us. He's cheering us on, right? To find and live in truth. We only do stupid things because we believe stupid things. So I don't like that word a lot, but the reality is if we knew the truth, man, then we would make good decisions. So it's like practically with my kids, I've tried to just bring them into places of encounter with him where they could know the truth that would lead them to freedom. So they come with us to like those stadium events. I mean, we've been in Israel together. We adventure together, man, to really just see what God's doing in different places, to know truth, right? So that they could walk in freedom.
Yeah. Oh, love that. So you said go to Israel together. That is definitely a bucket list item. But what does that look like to take your family to Israel?
Bro, it looked like traveling all over the country, looking at places that the Bible happened, right? It was amazing just to get a sense of the geography, right? So that when you're reading about these places and you've got a picture and a feel of what it was like. I'm just really thankful to get to do that. We got to go with a guy who, we didn't hit a lot of the traditional sites. We kind of traveled all over the whole country, man, from the Negev in the south to, the West Bank, over into Jordan, up to the Galilee and in the old city, just looking at the stories and the places that, the Bible came alive.
Yeah. How does it translate to your kids, right? So do you feel like it gives your kids a deeper value understanding? Because I'll tell you this, like when we read scripture now, The Chosen, the show, I think really has helped bring it to life for them, right? Because it's like you start to see when you're reading, you start to kind of have this like visual. What do you think about taking your kids to Israel that it did to open up their, because that's another thing going back to how are you passing the faith to them? You're giving them this like actual true history, connecting it to something. Yeah. What do you think it did for them?
Bro, so the Bible was written in a context, right? I mean, Jesus was Jewish.
Yeah.
So, we live in America. It's not the same here. It's much different. So to go and see the culture and the context, right, that the Bible is written. I mean, we learned about trees and we saw just the flora, the fauna. I mean, the people, the places. It was, it really did. It gave them an anchor, right? So now as they learn more, they have a grid, right, to understand the context, even to learn about kind of the feast and, the law that they're following now. I mean, it just invites them into the story because we're in the story, right? It's still unfolding, still written.
Man, that is a bucket list item for me to expose my kids to that. I think that would be a huge opportunity. I've never been.
Well, give me a shout when you want to go, man. We will. I'll hook you up, man. There's a number of ways to see it. I've got to spend about 8 weeks there. Actually, you got to take them twice, man. So you can do. I think y'all should do the traditional tour, right, where you hit all of the main ones, so you can see it. But man, there's so much more off the beaten path to really just use your Bible as a guidebook, and there's amazing things to see there and discover.
Well, I'll definitely be hitting you up. That's thank you for that. Ben, when did you embrace fatherhood? Right. So, as a young dad, you find out we're pregnant, and then, your wife goes through this gnarly transformation, grows a human, gives birth, feeds it, so as a dude, was it when you heard we're having a kid, when you saw your first kid be born? Was it when they took their first steps? When did you step in and go, this matters?
Man, holding your child for the first time there's nothing like it. I mean, blows your mind. And then I think, I just never forget, like, when we're getting ready to put him in the car, I'm like, are you crazy? We're going to drive with him? I mean, this isn't even so. I mean, immediately I felt the weight and responsibility, man, of providing for him, of protecting him, and then it go through this probably season of just realizing, man, that I have no idea what I'm doing as a dad, right? So, and man, my first one, Eli, he's like super smart, like actually has a Mensa card, right? But dude, very strong willed. So I'm reading all the books, trying to figure it out and totally failing until I really came across this truth that I shared earlier, man, that my role really is to allow him to make enough mistakes, right, to learn from those so that he could manage and stay free, right? So the challenge in that was being creative enough to come up with natural consequences to his actions that weren't so inconvenient for me that I wouldn't, stand true or stand through it, if you know what I mean. But really, man, it put me in a place where I could come alongside of him and be his ally as he's learning how to work through the consequences, that he created by his actions, if that makes sense. So, I mean, that for me, that happened. I don't know. It was probably, it was kind of tied to this whole, probably 2012-ish or so. So it's been a little while ago, but he was, I don't know, 8-ish. We had a couple others on the way or here. And, once you get that first one, I think once you kind of lay back and start to enjoy them and instead of, and understand that you're really just stewarding God's child, right? I mean, so you're really just in partnership with the Father, right? To father up his kids. Man, it just takes a lot of pressure off. You get to enjoy them. And then they kind of lay the groundwork for the rest coming along, right? So it gets easier as you go on. But
yeah, I mean, on one hand, it takes the pressure off. But on the other hand, it's like this God trusted me with these 4 or 5 kids to like get them ready for life. Like we have incredible power to screw it up.
absolutely, man. But I totally trust his leadership. He's really good.
So then, yes. And with kids as well, I think sometimes the kids are almost more there for your and I's refinement than we are for their refinement.
Absolutely.
If we can see it that way.
Yeah, I mean, you learn, like, they have this ability to make you, your response often to their behavior often really brings out these fears in you, right?
I thought you were going to say drive my fist through a wall.
I mean,
like, yes,
that's another manifestation, right? At the end of it, man, it's because you're convinced that you're screwing up, right? And they're going to be a failure. So there's a fear there, man, that they're really good at exposing, I think. And like you said, man, it really gives us an opportunity, an invitation to step into, a higher level of truth, right? Which is that, man, his love is enough, man, to instruct us, to teach us, to get us where we need to be.
Yeah. And with that, it's like, okay, God trusted me with these kids. You've made comments that part of your role as a father is to allow your kids space to fail so they can understand living in freedom. And then can we give ourselves that same grace and mercy to fail ourselves, right? Like, and trust that we have a good dad watching over us who's like there to give us grace and mercy and be like, oh yeah, this is just learning, and not try to be a perfect dad.
Well, look, man, I mean, the only pathway to growth is failure. That's the only one. So you should just get good at failing and just do it fast, right? I mean, because really, honestly, the earlier you fail, the more, and you accept that, right, and learn from it, the less dramatic the failure, right? I mean, how many guys that have hidden things forever, right? And tried to look great. And then it was this big catastrophe where everything fell down. Whereas if you'll just walk with humility, man, and know that, hey, I'm screwing up, but if I acknowledge him in all my ways, he's faithful to direct my paths, right? And order my steps. I mean, he's not surprised. There's an answer to everything. So, and the good news is, man, the spirit of wisdom and revelation. He actually lives in us. He'll speak to us in the Holy Spirit. So he's in partnership with us to get him there.
Okay. So I love something you just said. So like when I mess up, screw up, whatever, God's not surprised, right? He's not like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Ned did that. He's more there to come and sit with me. So how often do we as dads, like our first response is almost surprised, shocked that our kid did something versus like, this is part of you growing up and how do I support you? What do you think about that?
Like, I don't know that I'll ever get over the amazement, right, of what the way that, some of the things they can do. And I have employees, right? So I have a lot of kids, really, in some regard, right? So it's like, so my job though is to like maybe try not to be try to hide that a little so that ultimately, man, I can come alongside them. We can work on it together. So, and I just think I think you get better at it, right? When you see that, hey, there always is a way through that leads to an upgrade, right? But yeah, it's a challenge. Like,
yeah, but dads, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking about my second son one day who, we're like getting ready to have this community event and launch this worship night, right? And I'm down there getting set up, everything. And I get a call and he's like, hey, can you come help me? I'm like, what's going on? He's like, well, I slid, I lost control going around a corner. That was the word. And I slid off the road, took out these signs, right, that were on the side of the road. And so I'm like, well, dude, it's going to be all right. You're okay, right? You're safe. And he was. So then I get the real story, a couple weeks later when I saw the video of him, right, trying to drift around a corner, right, in this car while recording it until he slides off and wipes it out. But, so in that moment, in that instance, right, I could yell at him or I could just say, that's sweet. So he's out zip tying up his bumper, right, on his car because I'm not paying to fix it. I mean, he's calling the state to say, hey, I wiped out your road sign, right? And he's paying all these things and cleaning up his mess. And meanwhile, man, I get to cheer him on, and he learns a valuable lesson. But man, I could have freaked out and yelled at him, and dude, he wouldn't come to me with problems in the future.
Yeah, dads, if you can just make mental note of that right now. Don't be surprised when your kid fails, and then respond, don't react, right? And you're going to create trust. Cuz like at the end of the day, is hitting a road sign that big a deal compared to something deeper, darker that could steal your soul, whether it like be adultery or marriage issues or family stuff. So it's like, if you can show up well in those moments, you're going to create such connection and depth of trust. And like Ben said a little bit ago, natural consequences. I think sometimes as parents, we don't even have to give another consequence because the natural consequences is enough.
That's it. I mean, he didn't have a lot of cash, but he got it done.
Yeah, figured it out. Yeah. Ben, I want to ask about your own dad. So you can answer however you want to, but 2 questions. What's something you appreciated about your dad? And then what's something you wish your dad would have done?
Man, I love my dad. I appreciate that he was a hard worker. Man, he taught me how to work hard. I mean, in kindergarten, man, I'm on a job site with him, pulling nails and working. And then he always cut me in as well on the rewards. So, I mean, I felt like I was paid well. I mean, I like that job in kindergarten, man, was actually for a little mini bike that the neighbor had that we used to, kick and ride. So, I mean, it was the deal. But man, I'll never, like, I really appreciate even, through high school, my friends are out playing and I'm working. I resented it a little bit at the time, but man, that work ethic and, the things I learned really positioned me to, lead a company at a young age that I wouldn't have been ready for. So thankful for him in that. But man, it was a rough childhood though, as well. He, up until the age of about 8th grade, he kind of lived a double life. I mean, he was an alcoholic and on drugs and was lying to my mom. And so he was gone a lot. He wasn't around and really didn't teach me how to be a dad. I had to work through a lot of that, man, forgiveness and just, come to, man, understand that he was doing the best he could, man, at where he was, and then, so that was something, man. I wish I would have felt a little more equipped to father, as at a young age. But he's still, man, in my life. We get to work together. It was a family owned construction company. I bought it from him about, in 21, a few years ago, and but I still get to see him on a daily basis. And I'm thankful for that, man.
Well, dude, thank you so much for sharing. I like to ask the question, I mean, because even at 47 years old, your dad has impact on your life. And then there's also this reality that one day our kids could be asked that same question. We're gonna have an answer, right? And what do you and I want that answer to be? And are we living are we living a life daily with our habits, our words, our responses? Ben, the podcast is called Fatherhood Field Notes. You're doing it, just opening up your life, sharing it with us. But there's a mantra behind it, and it's rebellion. We want a battle to fight, right? We want a worthy cause, like the pursuit of our spouse. But when you hear rebel and then create, right? So I'm going to go fight against something so that I can then create space to create something beautiful. What's something you, Ben, are rebelling against and hope?
It's good, man. I think as I thought about that, I mean, I think I'm rebelling against just kind of passivity and just, men particularly. I mean, I'm called to men. I'm called to serve men. And I see so many men that just settle, right? With, hey man, this is life. This is what I've got. And they're too afraid, man, to actually step out and pursue kind of some of the hopes and dreams that are in their heart. Man, I believe God put them there on purpose. Man, He put them there for you to go after because He wants that change in the world, man. And so I think that I spend my life, man, pursuing dreams, right? My own dreams, encouraging my kids, man, to go after theirs, and then, man, leading men, either at work or in this ministry, man, to consider for a second, man, that maybe, the dreams that are in your heart are actually put there by God to pursue, to bring about a change on the earth. And if that's true, man, if it's possible that that's true, then, maybe He's actually going to resource you and give you everything you need to actually make it happen.
How, when you have incredible company that you're getting to lead, like that's a huge kind of trophy on the wall, right? Like incredible. Then you've got this men's ministry that's blowing up. Another thing that you can kind of like put up on the wall is like, man, that's sick. I get to be a part of that. It's beautiful, awesome. How do you not put those above the pursuit of your wife and your kids, right? You see a lot of men who have a dream, have a passion, have a business, and they make that their life, best energy, best creativity, most of their time and resources. How do you ensure that you are first and foremost leading your family, and not letting those other things like take priority or press?
I mean, I certainly wouldn't claim to do that perfect, like, for sure. But like ultimately, man, it's about, I mean, keeping your eye on what matters, what's eternal, right? What's eternal. And I think the other thing that really kind of makes the difference, as a game changer for me, is just Matthew 6:33, that if I seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, which means to me, like, the right view of the world, right? Right thinking, right order. If I seek first the kingdom of God, His authority, His plans in my life, and His righteousness, then, dude, everything else is going to be added to me as I need it. So, dude, that's so freeing and liberating. I mean, the business, the ministry, I mean, honestly, like, they weren't my idea. I mean, I'm not taking credit for them. Yeah, I mean, honestly, do I enjoy them? Yeah, but my identity is not wrapped up in them. So, they could come or go. I really, because like what really matters is my wife, man, my Lord, my kids, and what I get to take into eternity. I'm trying to store up treasures in heaven.
Okay, I love. So you said it's not my identity, right? My business is not my identity. So I think that that's a great for dudes to check in with themselves, because I think sometimes when we say like seek first the kingdom, I don't know exactly the story, but there was some story of some evangelist who had this prayer: God, I'll go chase down the world and teach them about you. Just take care of my family. And fast forward, and the dude's family was like drug addicts, fell apart, suicide, and there's this missed thing like, no, when I'm before the king at the end of my life, there are certain people, certain relationships that were my responsibility. Now, it doesn't mean that, I can fully determine like what my son's going to do, but I'm going to play a big role in his life. So I think it's really important just to have your priorities in order, which is what you just said, right? My identity is not in those outside things. They're giftings, they're opportunities. But first and foremost, my relationship with God, my relationship with my wife and my kids takes precedence. So beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's a wrestle.
So like this whole thing, man, is about stewardship, right? I mean, none of it's ours. It's all his, right? So like I am, man, he's given me the assignment, right? Or the opportunity to really serve and lay down my life, which the word says when I do that, I find it. And it really works that way. But he's given me the invitation to lay down my life for my wife, and for my kids. And I'm in a family-owned business, so it's even more evident to me. But I think it applies even if you're not doing business with your family. But everything flows out of that. I mean, it flows out of that. Man, we're made for community. And so, the beginning of that is your family, because ultimately family is the government of heaven, right? It's like the context that he wants to govern the earth in. Anyway, it really, for every dude with a family, man, it starts right there. That's first. It's priority.
Beautiful. Before I ask my final question, anything we missed, any stories that you've kind of like had popped into your head that you're like, oh, I would love to share this story about fatherhood or family. But before I ask my final question, anything sitting with you that you'd want to share with any dad?
And I think the one thing that came back to my mind as we were talking, and it was a little bit earlier, about when our kids mess up. I actually had a conversation yesterday. My second son, it's so cool, man. Like I'm working with him, and I never expected that, right? But he wanted to come and work in the business. And so he worked with us for a while, but now he's out in the field building, gaining that experience. He called me yesterday and he's just like, hey man, I haven't seen you. I haven't talked to you for a while. We just have been kind of preparing for this encounter, and fasting's part of that. So he went through that for the first time. It was a big deal, right? I mean, he made it. Like he fasted for 3 days without dying, right? So, and the Lord really showed him some crazy things, which was cool. But man, that man, his name's Jude. Man, I remember like this when he was 8 years old. Man, he was with a buddy, and his buddy on his phone had found some porn, and that dude he was exposed to it at 8. And so he told me the story. Even last night we were talking about it, because he told me about him standing outside the door to our bedroom for night after night after night, trying to find the courage, man, to tell me that of what he'd seen and what happened. And one night he knocked on the door and came and brought to me that, I mean, he had looked at pornography, and he was really struggling with pornography and masturbation and just sexual immorality, right? He was struggling with it. And man, I remember at that point, like, it surprised me, it shocked me, it rocked me. But I praise God, man, I was able to respond and not freak out, right? And man, I was able to help him, help him understand that, look, I mean, we had a conversation about sex and what it was for, and why God created it and the context. I mean, we got to cover it all at a young age because he had been exposed to that. And then so I was able to come alongside of him, man, and be an ally, be a leader in his life to help him instead of shaming him, and put a bunch of rules about how he shouldn't do that. And he, what was really cool about that is as he grew up, and he learned how to really see purity restored in his life, right? To see his eyes, to be able to not look at women with lust again. This was a process that we got to walk through over the next probably 5-6 years. And just last night, man, he was telling me, because I knew I was going to be talking to you, and that story had come to mind. And man, I was just, he's walking pure at this point. He's got a girlfriend. He's not married. He's been dating her for a while. Man, they're abstaining. I mean, and man, we're able to have discussions about, man, what's what every dude is wrestles with, and how, like, man, it really starts with how you look and, whether or not you stare, right? I mean, it's this covenant, right? That your eyes are the gateway, what you look at, what you think about. I mean, just all of the things that I've learned about how do you stay pure, in a world that's filled with it. And, to be able to be on his side, cheering him on, and accountability looks like being an ally with him. Man, I'm just so thankful for, man, that God gave me the power to not freak out, and then the relationship with him to see him stay free in that area. And I think that it's an invitation to men, and as they're dealing with their sons, man, to really just be there, be available to have those hard conversations.
Yes, and I think so many men struggle with masturbation and pornography as it is even in their own home. You might not think it's a big deal, guys, but do you want your son to have that same, like if you are wrestling with it and you know the way that you feel about it, do you want your son to have that same experience when he's 40 or 45 or whatever? The answer would be no. The only way that can be true, though, is if you deal with it yourself, so that then you can be the support for your son. I mean, who else does he have in his life that's supposed to be that guy? Now, maybe you didn't have that guy, to walk with you. So now you're a man now. So go figure it out. And so I would really suggest to dudes, like if you struggle in that area, for the sake of your son, your son's son, your great, great, great grandkid, go do the work so that you can be the guy, whether spoken or unspoken, right? I think when we break these chains that hold us back, even if we're not wearing a t-shirt or preaching it, it naturally passes to our kids that they are not going to wrestle in the same way. I truly believe that.
We absolutely have an authority in our house, right? And about kind of what's free to come in and go out. And like, if we are making place for sexual immorality or pornography or that in our heart, without, wrestling through it, because it's a wrestle. I mean, the only reason I was in a place to have the conversation with him is because I had overcome it in my own life. Man, I made a lot of stupid choices when I was young, man, and God set me free. I mean, he set me free from pornography, and really just from lust, and that doesn't mean that I haven't ever had to deal with it again. I have. I mean, dude, a month ago, right? I had to deal with it again, but I've learned to recognize it. I know what to do, man, when temptation comes, and then even more importantly, what to do if I fail and give in to temptation, how to be restored. And man, to be able to have that conversation with my kid and, who's a young man now, 19, man, I'm so thankful because of what it'll mean for him as he moves forward, in the freedom.
So good. And again, I just want to bring back, Ben, what you said about freedom, teaching to live in freedom, because when the temptation of the sexual immorality shows up, it is not allowing me to be, if I fall into that temptation, it is not allowing me to be free in my marriage, in my intimacy with my own wife. There's like darkness and lies there. So I can't connect with her.
Yes.
So dude, it just falls back into the freedom.
And I echo so much what you just said. Like the relationship I have with my wife, and when I'm in temptation or not, not living the way I should, dude, it's a completely different relationship. There's a completely different intimacy that's available when I'm pure and connecting with her in truth. I mean, it's like, whoa. I mean, it's so
sacred,
worth it
it's holy,
to battle
it's different
for freedom, man. It's so worth it because there's, man, unbelievable. What God created, man, in context, in the realm of sex. It's amazing.
Yes. And so to be able to set our sons up for success, we're going to have to do hard work. And isn't it worth the pursuit? Isn't it a worthy pursuit? Oh,
so
yeah.
worth it. Because, dude, all sin is just a counterfeit, man, for the real. It's just a substitute for the real. And the real is, I don't know, man, 10, 100 times better. I don't know how many. So it's totally worth going after.
Yes. Oh, dude, I love it. All right, Ben. This has been incredible. I love the time that we get to spend together. I know last time when we were in Colorado together, we stayed up till 2 a.m. just chit chatting by the fire, which was great. I look forward to more times like that. My last question to you is a legacy question. So let's fast forward. You're 80 years old. Okay, you're 80 years old. You're towards that tail end. Hopefully we live to 100, but you're getting there.
120, 120.
120. Okay, so 100. You're 100 years old. Let's just go for it. So you're 100 years old, and you're peering into the homes of not your children, but your grandchildren. What do you want to see being played out inside your grandchildren's home that puts a big smile on your face and you're like, I pursued the right things in my life?
Man, every one of them, man, have just relationships, families that are intact, that they're loving. And in a nutshell, man, they're pursuing all of the good works that he created beforehand for them to walk in. I mean, that's at the end of the day, man, I want to do all of them, and no more, but just all of them, because I know his plans are amazing, man. They're beyond our capacity to think or imagine. Right. But I'm going to pursue them as long as I'm here, and, lead my kids to do that as well. Really living in the inheritance as a son, which is, I mean, he owns everything, right? So it's all at our disposal in partnership with him in Christ. So are we really living that way? I mean, I want to do it more. I don't feel like I definitely haven't got there, but it's the aim.
Man, beautiful, Ben. I've never heard it said that I want to see their families intact. Like, what a simple thing to say, right? But if at the end of my life, I lived a life that at least mimicked that for my kids, gave that example, like that would take a lot of my life, right? To say I've been married for 25 years, 50 years, 75 years. Am I choosing to pursue Sarah today? Does my calendar reflect that I want to be married to Sarah in 40 years? Like, am I speaking to her? Am I treating her? Like, dude, that kind of simplifies what's important today. If I'm pursuing this, families are intact. It kind of clarifies the way I want to show up.
That's true, man. And there's so much that will flow out of that you'll be around to see, right?
Dude, it goes back to the first thing you said when I asked you about marriage. You said there's so much that weighs on this relationship, or so much that, like, basically what you said
It
is
just hangs, man.
Say it again.
It hangs on it. There's so much that hangs on it. It flows out of.
Yes. Oh, well, let's end with that. Ben, you are incredible. You are a man after the heart of God, after the heart of your wife, after the heart of your children, to know them, to see them, to help them see themselves. And then you're sharing that with the world around you. Really, it seems very humbly that you want other men to see the truth of who they are in their homes and their ability to take their gifts and talents and do something that seeks first the kingdom and brings righteousness. So, my friend, thank you for the way you show up. Thank you for the way that you love people. And dude, just blessings to you and your family. And I look forward to our paths crossing again in the future.
Great to see you, man. I can't wait for, the more men that catch a glimpse of what God wants to do through their life to transform the world, man. It's what I live for. Bless you, man.
All right, my friend. Until next time.